Hi, I'm Jack from GatelyAcademy. In this video, we're going to talk about property disclosures and misrepresentation. Misrepresentation is probably one of the top 5 worst things you can do as a licensee. And so this is a really important video, not only for the exam, but for real life. So let's take a look at what I call the Agent Standard of Conduct and Disclosure. That's not an official title, but that's what I call it, and I think it's helpful to remember. This is really, for me, the kind of like the whole thing in terms of acting ethically as an agent. I mean, you should like totally internalize this sentence that we're going to go over here for you. Super, super important as an agent in real life and on the exam. So here it is. You must be honest and accurate. You must be honest and accurate. And I want to also add in here that this standard of conduct and disclosure that we're talking about, this covers all of your relationships, regardless of your relationship with the consumer. So whether they're your client or somebody else's client, it does not matter, or whether they're not even a client yet of anybody's, it does not matter. Any member of the public that you come across, you must be honest and accurate. You must be honest and accurate. That's pretty straightforward, right? No wiggle room there. And you must disclose any known material defect. So there is a little bit of wiggle room there, because especially as a listing agent, you have no duty to investigate, no duty to investigate. So it's not your job as the listing agent to crawl up into the attic and look for mold, or to, try to track down where the raccoon nest is in the attic or anything like that. You don't have to do that. As a listing agent, you don't have to go looking for problems. So you're only required to disclose what you know, either through your expertise, through observation, or maybe what the sellers told you, but only what you know. You clearly it's impossible to disclose something that you don't know. I mean, if you don't know it, you can't disclose it. So it's only things that you know. And it's only material defects. And the way I define material defects, if I could just kind of use some slang here for a second, I would say that a material defect is something that matters. Something that matters, especially if it's going to affect the price of the property, or maybe, for instance, the buyer would back out of the transaction. If one tile in the bathroom out of 700 tiles is a little bit loose, that's not a material defect. If the chimney is about to fall down, that is a material defect. So very, very important. We're not talking about trivial matters. We're talking about significant matters, material defects, things that are wrong with the property. Okay, so what categories could these defects fall into? Well, if you know, and all of this on this page here is all prefaced on the fact of that you might know it. So if you know it, any type of land or soil pollution or issue along those lines, land, soil, issue, pollution, you must disclose it. You must disclose it. Structural issues. So, if the basement floods and you know it, you must disclose it. Simple. Systems. Air conditioning, electrical, heating, plumbing, all of those systems issues. If you know about it, if you know the air conditioning doesn't work, you must disclose it. Pests, whether it's the raccoons or the termites, mold, anything along those kind of characteristics there, if you know about it, you must disclose it. And the last one is the location hazard, which I kind of think of like Mother Nature type of things. Here in Massachusetts, that would be like erosion or flooding. Erosion or flooding. You could think like in California, it would be like if you're in an earthquake zone, or Hawaii, you're in some type of like known lava flow zone, or even in New Hampshire, like rock slide or something like that. Mostly in Massachusetts, that's going to be erosion or flooding. So these are the overall categorized topics of potential defects that you must disclose. Okay, so let's set up a scenario where you could get yourself in some big trouble here. Let's say that you're over a house that you have listed. So you've listed this house that I've drawn here, and let's pretend it's pouring rain out. I mean, it's just a really hard rainstorm. And you're inside, and lo and behold, a raindrop hits you in the head. Splat. Well, obviously, you know that the roof leaks, right? It's pretty obvious. You're inside. You got hit by a raindrop. The roof leaks. So, as we discussed earlier, this would be a structural issue that you must disclose because now it is most certainly something that you know. You know that the roof leaks. Definitively, the raindrop hit you in the head. And you must disclose it because it's a material defect. It's a known material defect. It's a known material defect. You must disclose it. If you fail to disclose it, then, that is a misrepresentation. And that would probably be one of your top 5 violations that you could commit as a Massachusetts real estate agent. You know the roof leaks, but you don't tell the buyers? That's a big, big no-no, super big no-no. If the consumer complains, you're probably going to have a hearing before the Board of Registration, and it's likely that you're going to face some significant discipline. Suspension, fine, maybe even revocation of your license. So is something you absolutely positively do not want to be involved with in any way, shape, or form. A misrepresentation, that is withholding. Let's get you an official definition here. A misrepresentation is withholding a known material defect. Withholding a known material defect. That is a big, big no-no. All right. One other point on this. One other point. Let's go back to this scenario of the house. The raindrop hits you in the head. What if your client is actually standing right next to you when this happens? So the seller is right next to you when you get hit by the raindrop, and the seller says to you, "Hey, Jack, yeah, I saw you got hit by the raindrop. Gee, I'm sorry about that. Here's a napkin. You can wipe it off. Hey, can you do me a little favor? This is gonna work out for both of us. Can you just keep that our little secret?" No, you can't. You can't. Even though you work for the seller, you work for the seller. The seller has now asked you to do something which would be unlawful and or unethical, and you cannot do that. So even though you work for them, there is a line where you basically become a mandatory reporter. Regardless of what the seller wants you to do, you must share this information with any potential buyer. How do I share that information? I usually do that verbally to begin with, and then I'll follow up with an email, highly likely to their agent. I don't like to text anybody, actually, in this business. I text all the time to my friends and family, but in this business, I prefer to do email. It is archivable and searchable, and I think I find a much more professional manner of communication. So I usually tell them verbally, "Hey, we've had a history of a leaky roof here." I'll tell them that. And then later on in an email, "Hey, thanks for coming. Once again, just want to remind you about the leaky roof issue we've had." And that way I've disclosed it in, probably a little bit more eloquent way than that, but that's the way we disclosed it. A follow-up question to that. What if the roof gets fixed? Well, if the roof is fixed 100%, there's no need to disclose it. There's no need to disclose it because it's no longer a material defect. But if someone says to you, "Hey, I see some water staining up here. Has there been a roof leaking?" You could say, "We had a prior problem. It's now been fixed. Here's the receipt from the roofing company." And that's how you handle that issue. So you don't have to volunteer an issue that's been fixed. I mean, there's plenty of houses that had material defects, whatever they were, and they got fixed. Once they're fixed, they no longer fall under the category of must be disclosed. Hey, I'm Jack from GatelyAcademy. Thanks for watching.